Hello, I'm Gustav James, and I'm here to talk to you today about the state of Georgia, the upcoming election, the runoff election of the United States Senate. We have two senatorial races in the state of Georgia, which are extremely important, and I would like to make some comments regarding those races. You know, we're talking about the United States Senate, and for those of you who are not familiar with the system, note that the United States Senate is comprised of two senators from each of the 50 states. So it's a 100-member body, with each state having two representatives in the United States Senate. The United States Senate plays a very important role in the governance of the United States of America, including the governance of the territories, which includes the United States Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, and Northern Marianas. The United States Senate is not a democratically structured body in that there are two representatives from each state regardless of the size of the state. You have a state like California, which has close to 40 million people, has two senators, and you also have a state like Wyoming, which has less than 600,000 people, that also has two senators. So in the United States Senate, you will have the people of Wyoming effectively have a voting power 68 times as strong as a California citizen. So the United States Senate gives an inordinate amount of power to the small states. And there are reasons for that, and there are reasons why I think that is somewhat problematic, but there are also reasons why I can understand how that was built into the structure, because democracy is not just ruled by the majority. It's not just simply a majority rule. In a democracy, you also have to protect the rights of the minority, and that is extremely important in any democratic country or organization. So the balance or the lack of balance is set to offset the House of Representatives, which is theoretically based on population. And so California will have, its 50 plus representatives, whereas Wyoming will have just one. And so that's how the United States Congress is set up with the two houses, one being the Senate and the other being the House of Representatives. Now, the control of the Senate is extremely important, and that is something that was demonstrated during the Obama administration by the lack of cooperation that Obama received from the United States Senate. The Majority Leader, Senator Mitch McConnell, made it clear in fact, immediately upon Obama's election, he made it clear that his primary objective was to make Obama fail. And he proceeded to obstruct everything that President Obama attempted to accomplish in the entire 8 years that he served as president. I consider that to be un-American. I consider it to be somewhat treasonous. However, because of the nature of Obama and the general, what you would say, politically correct attitudes in the United States, Mitch McConnell's actions were treated as if they are totally legitimate. I don't think that the intention of the Constitution was to give that kind of power to the Majority Leader in the United States Senate. However, he assumed that power and was able to wield that power without much of a pushback from anyone. So he was able, for example, to deny Obama his Supreme Court pick for a full year, while he was also able to grant President Trump a Supreme Court justice in the final weeks prior to his losing the election. So this is the situation that we're up into now. Georgia has two Senate races that are going to determine who controls the United States Senate. if the Democrats can win both Senate races, it will become 50 Democratic senators and 50 Republican senators in the United States Senate. In the case of a tie in the United States Senate, that tie is broken by the Vice President of the United States, which will be Kamala Harris, a Democrat. So the Democrats will have control of the United States Senate if they are able to win both of the Georgia state runoffs on the senatorial elections. Note that Georgia went to Biden in this presidential election. Georgia, being a southern state, has always been considered more of a Republican stronghold. When I say Republican, I mean recent Republican, because if you know historically, the Republican Party was Lincoln's party, which is not what is represented today by the Republican Party. The old slave-holding Southerners were mainly Democrats back in the time of the Civil War. So Georgia is in a very significant position, a very important position, and I think it's important for us to also look at Georgia from a historic perspective, because it's not the first time that Georgia has played a pivotal role in the future direction of the country. You know, Georgia is one of the original 13 colonies of the United States. You know, one of the original 13 colonies of England, really, a British colony that declared independence from England in 1776. Now, in 1776, Thomas Jefferson, together with the help of Adams and Benjamin Franklin, they were able to draft what I consider to be one of the most significant and remarkable documents in the history, or the known history of mankind. That is the United States Declaration of Independence. In that declaration, Georgia played a pivotal role, because in the original draft of the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson with the assistance of others, slavery was absolutely condemned. And if you were to go online and look up the original draft of the Declaration of Independence, you will see that that draft would have ended slavery at the time of the declaration. So had the declaration gone through as originally written and as approved really by the drafters, slavery would have ended at the beginning of the country, at the birth of the country. Slavery would have ended. It was soundly condemned, and that passage is something that I will read for you at another time. But that passage that was in the declaration blamed England, or blamed the King George, for the atrocities of slavery, and it was quite clear that there would be no more slavery in the United States of America. However, when that was presented, it was the understanding of the 13 colonies present at the council that in order for any declaration to go forward, it had to be unanimously approved by all 13 colonies. Georgia refused. Georgia refused to endorse the Declaration of Independence, which included the condemnation of slavery, because Georgia insisted that they must have their slaves. And they don't believe that there is any doubt as to right, wrong, or the moral standing of slavery. There was no 3/5 human in the United States. No one thought that slaves were less than human. Everyone knew that these were equal people with the equal abilities, and in some areas possibly even superior abilities. So there is no question as to whether they knew that slavery was a crime against humanity. But they were greedy, as they are today, as many people are today. Greed and the want for money and power overrides people's integrity and their basically willingness to be good humans. And Georgia refused, and that passage was stricken from the Declaration of Independence. At the time when the Constitution was then drafted a few years later, not only had slavery been allowed in the United States, but slavery was guaranteed in the Constitution for an additional 20 years. Still, though, with the understanding or the belief that slavery was going to end naturally within those 20 years. Unfortunately, slavery did not end within those 20 years, and it began to get stronger after 50 years when the cotton gin was invented, and the cotton became such a lucrative crop, so that now slavery had become a much more lucrative enterprise. The cotton gin, slavery, the advancement of slavery, the attempt to push slavery into the entire United States led to the rise of Abraham Lincoln. And in 1860, we get to another place where Georgia plays a pivotal role, because in 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States and took office in 1861. Shortly after that, South Carolina and the other southern states seceded or attempted to secede, which Lincoln did not agree with this secession, and we had a civil war. Now, I want to make another historic point about Georgia, because Georgia is still playing a very pivotal role. In fact, it's the second time that Georgia plays an extremely important role in the determination of what happens to the United States going forward. So in 1864, when the Civil War had been raging for a full 3 years plus, it was time for elections again in the United States. Lincoln was on the ballot against McClellan. McClellan was a well-known individual, general in the United States Army, well respected, and it was also clear that McClellan would be willing to negotiate with the South and allow the South to have slaves and maintain their independence from the northern states. So we would have had two countries had McClellan won that election, because he was going to stop the war and negotiate with the southern secessionists. Of course, that was not Lincoln's intention, and Lincoln was willing to shed whatever blood was necessary in order to bring to cause the South to submit. In the summer of 1864, when that election was on the line and it looked very much like Lincoln would lose, it was dependent now on the North being able to show that they would be able to win the war outright in order for Lincoln to win this election. At that time, the Northern General, William Tecumseh Sherman, began his incursion into Georgia. And in the summer, he marched on Atlanta and was able to capture Atlanta in the summer of 1864. When Sherman captured Atlanta in the summer of 1864, that basically took Lincoln over the top. When it was announced that Atlanta had fallen, Atlanta was the major industrial hub of the southern states, and it became clear that the North was going to win the war outright, and there was no need for concessions or any kind of negotiations with the South. Unconditional surrender is what the South was going to be subjected to under the generalship of Sherman and Grant. So the capture and the burning of the city of Atlanta played a major role in allowing Lincoln to be re-elected as President of the United States in 1864, thereby causing slavery to be forever ended in the United States of America. Had that not happened, we would have had a much different outcome. So because of these historical significant events, I think that it's important for us to look at this upcoming election in light of these events and in light of the importance of this election, where the future of the United States, between what I consider to be the Trump era, which is, if it's not fully fascist, is definitely going in the direction of fascism. Authoritarian rule is what I see in the Trump playbook. If Trump is able to get 4 more years, there would be no more elections in the United States as we know it. There would be no more what we call democracy. Even though it is a flawed democracy, it still is somewhat of a democracy. But if Trump was able to acquire 4 more years, I don't see him 4 years from now in 2024 allowing a free election. Trump would choose the next president, or he himself would be the president again in 2024. So there is no way for us to picture a democratic United States along with Trumpism for 4 more years. So this election in Georgia is so important in order for the Biden and Harris administration to be able to control the destiny of the country, at least for 4 years, where they would be able to get the selections of the judges that we need, the different cabinet members that we need. Control of the United States Senate is extremely important, and it's important that the people of Georgia realize their historical significance and go out and vote strongly in favor of the Democratic Party. Thank you very much.